Welcome back to my channel, everyone. 3 Tips here. And what I have is a little container that's full of some gold-plated silver jewelry. And what we're going to do is go through this, clean it all up, get all the stones, the steel springs, and other non-gold material, or non-silver material, I should say, removed from this. And like here's a ring. It's got a big stone in it, and I just pull those out and save them. Got a little container over here, and I hang on to those. Now what I'll do, I'm going to check each piece like this. I take the file here. I'm going to file down into the metal real good. Check the color. It's a white metal, so I know it's not brass or copper. And then I've got a little silver testing solution here. Apply some of that on there, and it instantly turns red. You see that? And we can wipe it off on our piece of paper. That red stain means that this piece is in fact silver. Now what I'll do is I'll just go through the entire group here of silver and throw it in our container back here. Get it ready to go. This is a piece of, or a silver bracelet rather. Let's check it right quick. Yeah, that looks like white metal. And then put a little bit of our silver test solution on there. And see that red stain? If that stain stays brown or turns green or any other color, that means that this is not a piece of silver. So what I'm going to do here is cut this link open. This is the catch. It's going to have a steel spring in it. There's the steel spring. I take that out and throw it away. And then these pieces of silver, add it to the batch. A little bit about this silver testing solution. What this is this is a little bit of potassium dichromate that's been dissolved in some dilute nitric acid. I take about 10 milliliters of nitric acid, dilute it with 10 milliliters of distilled water, and then I put a gram or a gram and a half, maybe 2 grams of the potassium dichromate in there, and we dissolve it, and it makes this silver testing solution. And this stuff is really good stuff. I use it to test all of my silver pieces. Silver testing solution is called Schwerter's solution. So now what I'll do is I'll go through all these pieces and test each piece with my Schwerter's solution. Make sure that it is in fact silver. And then once I get everything all cleaned up, we'll show how to recover the gold out of this. Here we are. We've spent about the last 6 hours going through all of this material. And now what we'll do is we're going to burn all the people off of here. But first, before we do that, I've got the weight of the container written down here, 693.3. Let's go ahead and get this on a scale. Looks like we got 1381.6, 1381.6 minus 693.3, 93.3 equals. So we've got 688 grams of gold-plated silver material in this container. I'm going to set the material in water up here on a hot plate. I'm not going to turn on the heat just yet. What we're going to do is pour in some nitric acid, and we're going to begin dissolving out the silver out of this silver, gold-plated silver material. About 250 milliliters of distilled water to a clean beaker, and now I'm going to add nitric acid to this. I got about 300 in there. That's okay though. I'm going to put about 250 milliliters of nitric in here, and now we'll use this to add it to our silver in here. What's happening in here is the nitric acid, the dilute nitric acid that we're pouring in, will dissolve the silver and other base metals that might be in here, but it will not dissolve the gold coating on the silver pieces. The gold coating will get left behind as foils down in our solution, and then once we get all the silver dissolved out of there, we can get in there and get those gold foils out, and then we can recover those and refine the gold foils. Alright, I haven't added any heat yet. Any heat in this reaction is coming from the reaction itself. See, we've got 75.8 Celsius, 160 degrees Fahrenheit. See if I can get the rest of this dilute nitric in here. That's good. I don't want to push it and create a boil over. It's been on here for about 45 minutes, and I did a little calculation using 1.2 milliliters of nitric per gram of sterling silver that I need to dissolve. I've already got about 300 milliliters in there. Here's another 200. We're going to try to pour this right straight on in. I haven't added any heat yet. And any heat we're getting out of here is just from the reaction. 1.2 milliliters of nitric per gram puts me up around 800 milliliters of nitric to complete this reaction. You can see there's gold foils floating on the surface already. And so this is going to take quite a bit of acid to get all the silver to go in solution. I'm going to add the rest of this acid in now. It seems to be doing okay. Alright, now we've got about 500 milliliters of nitric acid in there. Alright, we've got about 500 milliliters of nitric acid in here. I don't see a whole lot of solid material left in here. Got a lot of foils floating on top. I think what we'll do now is just add about another 200 milliliters of nitric acid. I'm going to pour this right on in. And let's see if we can get every bit of the silver dissolved out of here. That went right on in without much reaction. And I think what I'll do, yeah, most of the silver's already gone out of here now. What I'm going to do is add just a touch of heat here. We're going to let this start to react with some heat. We've got us a full rolling boil. I've been at this now for about 4 hours. I've got almost 700 milliliters of nitric acid in there. And what we're going to do is I'm going to add about another 100 more carefully. I'm not worried about having excess nitric in here. What I am worried about is having excess silver in here when we go to refine these gold foils. So I'm going to add this nitric acid. I'm going to put it in slow because this is going to be real hot. And if there's anything in there that's going to boil over, it'll take off on us now. With this hot metal in here, I don't see any reaction at all, hardly. So I think we're at a point where we can proceed to the next step. Yeah, that nitric's not having any effect at all. I got it all in there. We're right at about 6.5 hours here, and I think we've got everything to dissolve that's soluble in nitric acid. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this down off the heat now. We're going to let this cool down and go from here. These foils are looking real good here. I don't see any solid material in here at all. We're ready to go to the next step. I've allowed this to settle overnight, and if you notice, we've got some nice, beautiful silver nitrate crystals that have formed in our solution. What we now have in our beaker is the two metals classified, actually three, and this is very similar to refining gold filled scrap. The major difference is this solution will be much cleaner than we get with a gold filled processing. The reason being is because we've got a solution that's going to contain roughly 90% pure silver and about 10% pure copper. And that should be it if we were diligent when we sorted all of our scrap out and tested each piece to make sure it was silver. The rest of the particulate in the bottom of the beaker will be our gold foils. So we've got all the values separated now. All we need to do is set up and filter the solids out of the liquid. I'm using a specially prepared filter here. I've got two Buchner funnels. This is a 12.5 centimeter. This is an 11 centimeter. And this one will fit down inside of this one. And so we're going to use this 11 centimeter funnel to fashion our filter. The way we do this is I've got a 24 centimeter filter paper. I take the 11 centimeter funnel and center it up visually over the paper. I pull it up like this and it forms this little hoop here, and then I fold it in like so, and I gotta have this little shape right here in order to make this thing work successfully. So I'm just gonna go around the funnel and form that shape all the way around the filter paper. Here's our specially fitted filter paper. Now what we'll be able to do is put this right down inside of this 12.5 centimeter Buchner funnel and capture 100% of the solids in this filter. I've got my vacuum pump running. To set this up, I put a little rubber gasket here between the flask and the funnel to create a seal. Here's our filter that we just folded. It's important to point out that these little creases are forming this particular shape here. Now what we're going to do is fit it down into our funnel, and what will happen is it'll ride up the sides of the funnel, and when we pour our liquid in here, none of the particulate will get past the filter. Pour the clear liquid through the filter first. Those silver nitrate crystals will dissolve with water. So we're going to pour off the clear liquid first, and you'll see it pulls right through the filter very quickly. Alright, here's a better look at our crystals in here. These are pretty neat looking. I remember the first time I ever saw these in a silver solution. Kind of freaked me out a little bit because I didn't know exactly what they were. But those are crystals of pure silver nitrate. This is the little bit of material that's already been filtered out of our solution in the bottom of that filter. And here you'll be able to see the benefit of using a filter like this, because none of the particulate will be able to get past our filter and come in contact with the actual funnel. It'll all get trapped in the filter. Now these crystals up here, they are highly soluble in water, so I'm just going to start spraying some water in here, and these will dissolve with just distilled water. We cannot use tap water here because tap water contains chlorine, and if we put chlorinated tap water in here, we'll get a whole bunch of silver chloride forming. I've got most of the solution pulled through. My flask is full down there. So we're going to transfer the funnel to a new flask. This solution right here will contain a ton of silver, but it will also have excess nitric acid in here. So what I'll do is I'm not gonna recover the silver in this video. It's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do. We're trying to recover the gold foils. So what I'll do is I'll just add the solution there to this bottle and save it. And then when I go to process it, what I'll do is I'll put some silverware in a beaker, add this solution that contains silver and copper and a whole bunch of excess nitric, and dissolve more silver with it until I get it all the excess nitric completely used up, and then we'll cement the silver out with copper. Get the rest of this gold material. Let's look up in here and see what it looks like. I'm going to get the rest of this silver nitrate crystals dissolved and get our gold foils into this foam, into this filter rather. Here we go. Alright, I'm guessing this is going to take a while to pull through this filter, even with a vacuum. So I'm going to go in and get me a little bit of lunch. Here's all our beautiful gold foils. Now what we're going to do is rinse as much of the silver nitrate out of this filter as we can before we go to the next step. Here, I'm just going to pour some distilled water in here. And rinse all the silver nitrate off of our gold foils. Here's the liquid I've pulled off the gold foils. I rinsed the gold foils multiple times with water. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take these foils out of here now. And there they are. Look beautiful. And we're going to pull this filter paper out of here and put it right here in a melt dish. I've got my oven inside my fume hood. I've got it set for about 1500 degrees Fahrenheit. Now we're going to add the foils in and burn them and do an incineration on the foils. All right, we're nice and red hot now. I think we can pull these out, set them down here out of the way. Here's our gold foils. They've been incinerated. They look perfect. I'm going to set them up here out of the way and let them cool off. All right, here's our recovered gold foils. Everything's been incinerated. They look perfect. What we're going to do now is add them to this beaker here. I'm going to add about 100 milliliters of hydrochloric acid. Now what we'll do is cover this up. And I'm going to stick it up here on some heat. add a little bit of sulfuric acid to precipitate out any lead that may be present. Now I'm going to add some nitric acid to dissolve our gold foils. Shouldn't take much here. There's 3. We'll just do 6 milliliters to start off with and see if that will be enough to dissolve all the gold that we recovered from our gold-plated silver. This has been on the heat now for a good 20 minutes. Should have everything dissolved. I'm going to put in about 1 milliliter of nitric acid here. See if we get a reaction. A little bit of a reaction there. I'm going to use some hydrochloric acid and try to rinse down the inside of the beaker. I'm going to take this down off the heat. We're going to allow this thing to cool off. I'm going to reach down in here and get some on a filter paper. And we're going to do a status test. Make sure we've got gold in solution. A dark stain verifies that we've got gold in solution. I'm adding some ice cubes made from distilled water to cool our solution down and precipitate out any silver chloride that may be present. Here's a look at what's in the filter. There's some gemstones in there. And we pulled the liquid through there pretty quickly. Faster than I thought it was going to go. I thought it was going to be real slow. So we'll rinse this out now and then we'll get ready to do a precipitation. Another quick status test here. These tests are important to verify that we have gold in solution before we do the precipitation. Alright, I'm just expecting maybe 2 or 3 grams from this batch. Let's see what we get for precipitation here. Looks like it formed a little layer there. I think we've got enough SMB in here. So I'm just going to shake this up. Rinse down the sides of the glass here. Now we'll let this settle out. Reach down here and get another status test. Just to verify that we've got all the gold dropped out of our solution. And you can see by that negative test, all the gold has been precipitated. I've got a filter set up here, and what we'll do is filter our gold out of our waste solution. Here's our gold, somewhat settled to the bottom. Oh yeah, it looks like a respectable amount in there. I'm going to use some hydrochloric acid to rinse the gold now. Now we're going to rinse with some distilled water. Alright, I've got all the liquid off of the gold here. Looks like a decent amount. What we're going to do is transfer this now down into a small beaker. Put the whole funnel right on in. And we're going to refine it a second time. I'm going to add some hydrochloric acid. I'm going to add a few drops of sulfuric acid, just in case we got any lead in there. Alright, here's some nitric acid. I'm going to add about 6 milliliters. Seemed to have done it the last time for us. Now we'll cover this up, put it up on the heat over here, and dissolve it a second time. Got everything to go in solution, and we're going to pull this down off the heat and let it cool down. Adding a few pieces of ice here to help cool this down. Here you can see the solution is crystal clear and bright. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some sodium metabisulfite, and we're going to precipitate out our pure gold for a second time. Here we go. First spoon going in. Alright, I really think that 1 spoon of SMB precipitated out all of our gold. As you can see by that test, all the gold has been precipitated. We're going to pour off the waste solution into our waste container here. Alrighty, here's a look at our gold. Let's rinse it with a little hydrochloric acid. Rinse it with a little water. Settling out nicely. A sign we got some pure gold here. Now what I'll do is add a little bit of hydrochloric acid. I'm going to stick it up on the heat for a few minutes. Give it a quick boil and a little hydrochloric acid. It's been boiling in here now for a few minutes. What we're going to do is take our solution here and pour it off into our waste container. It's just hydrochloric acid that we just boiled this in. The gold's looking a lot better now, a lot better color to it. Alright, here we go. Here's a look at it. It's looking much better now. Now we're going to coax it down into a melt dish here. Let's take our gold over to the melt table. And let's get this melted up into a little bead, so we can calculate a yield. There's our little gold bead. I don't have enough room to stamp the whole name on there, but I think we can get Sri on it. Let's see what happens here. There we go. I've got Sree, S-R-E-E, stamped on it. Let's see what we got for weight on this thing. 2.9 grams. What do we have? We've got 2.9 divided by 688.3. So that means we've got a yield of about a little less than 0.5% from our gold plated silver jewelry. So what we'll do is I'll list this on my eBay store and we'll sell it. And this will conclude the video. Thank you for watching.